Sound off with me, folks, on the Boston Celtics logging yet another double-digit victory. And tonight, somehow doing it while Detroit had its best three-point shooting performance of the entire season. Yes, somehow the Boston Celtics won by double digits while Detroit was scorching hot from three-point range, having its best shooting night from beyond the arc of the entire season. It's truly incredible what the Boston Celtics did. This was a new season high for Detroit in made three-pointers with 20. This was a new season high in three-point percentage at over 51% for Detroit. And yet here the Celtics are with a 130-120 win over the Detroit Pistons tonight at TD Garden. This just has to be demoralizing for a team like Detroit to be really trying to build something over here. And then they come into Boston. They have their best three-point shooting night that they've had all season long. And this wasn't a close game. Like, Boston was up by 20. It had a lead from between 10 and 20 points for the far majority of this game. There was a little brief moment during the second half that it looked like the Pistons might be able to actually make a run, but Boston pulled away again. But it's just got to be demoralizing to play your best game of the season offensively and yet still lose by double digits. That just goes to show you how great Boston is and how powerful its offense is. And by the way, just from a historical perspective, there had been only 18 games in NBA history where a team made 23-pointers and shot at least 50% from three and lost prior to tonight. Now that number is 19. And over the last two seasons, it was only 8. Only 8 times had a team made at least 23-pointers on at least 50% three-point shooting and lost. Now it's 9 over the last 2 seasons, and now it's 19 in the history of the NBA. And again, it's all because of Boston's incredible offense. And listen, early on in this game, Jaylen Brown set the tone. He was excellent from the start, wound up setting a season high in assists with 9, also scored 28 points during this game. So he set the tone, but then really everyone else fell in line. And this was a performance across the board for Boston's offense. 21 made three-pointers. That's the 9th time this season that the Celtics have made at least 21. Let me remind you, they've only played 22 games this season. So 9 out of 22 games, they made at least 21 three-pointers. By the way, tonight was the first time Detroit had made 20 three-pointers all season. It had only made its maximum was 17 this season before tonight. So the Celtics have made at least 21 in 9 games, and tonight was the first time Detroit even made 20. So that just goes to show you how far apart these two teams are when it comes to the skill set and being able to drill shots from beyond the arc. But like I said, Jaylen Brown set the tone early on. He was driving to the basket. He was dishing. He had a little sauce to him tonight. So behind the back pass, it was kind of like a little Harlem Globetrotters was kind of dripping off him tonight. And as it should. I mean, as I said, he winds up with 28 points, 9 assists. It kind of felt like he walked into this game knowing that Jayson Tatum was out. He knew that this was his game. And he knew that the offense was going to run through him. And he took advantage. He played great. From start to finish, was excellent from a shooting percentage standpoint. Shot 10 of 21 from the field, so can't ask for much better than that. Did not shoot the ball well from three-point range. Really, he was the only guy who didn't shoot it well from three-point range. Everyone else was fantastic. And so, Jaylen Brown, he gets it done in the other categories. Also grabbed 3 steals during this game. Really set the tone for Boston from the get-go. There are some other people that we need to mention after this game, and the next one is Kristaps Porzingis, the 7'3" big man. He's only been back for about a week, but you can just see the impact that he is making at both ends of the court for this Celtics team, particularly on defense. Like, you could just feel it, especially during this game, that it's so much more difficult for opposing teams to score at the rim when Kristaps Porzingis is available for the Boston Celtics. And it makes sense, right? He was their leading shot blocker a year ago. He's 7'3" with a ridiculous wingspan. He protects the rim. And tonight he did it again. Had a couple blocks during this game. Also, he did not grab a steal in this game. Excuse me. I thought he had a couple of steals during this game as well, but he did block a couple shots. But on top of that, he was affecting other shots at the rim. So it's not just the shots that he actually does block. It's also the shots that he affects and forces misses out of. And there were at least a couple more of those that I actually thought that he touched and got the block on them, but he didn't get them officially in the box score. So he winds up with 2 blocks, but certainly affected more than that. So defensively, he's changing the game for Boston. You can see it. They are protecting the rim at a much higher rate. And by the way, Luke Cornett has a little bit to do with that as well. He's got 7 or 8 blocks over his last 2 games. So excellent job by him as well. So the defense is shoring up around the basket. Now they've got to get back to getting it done on the perimeter. Hopefully with Jrue Holiday, hopefully coming back for the next game Friday night, hopefully with Jayson Tatum, those guys get a little rest. And hopefully they can come back and try to spur some defensive pressure out on the perimeter Friday night when the Celtics take on Dame Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Milwaukee Bucks. But I said Kristaps Porzingis getting it done on defense. The man is also getting it done on offense. 26 points tonight. Shot the ball great. 3 of 7 from downtown. 8 of 17 from the field. 26 points on 17 shots. You will take that any night. No matter who it is, you will take those efficiency numbers any night. And Porzingis got it done yet again from all 3 levels tonight. He was going up as a vertical threat at the rim for alley-oops. He was finishing post-ups around the basket, made a couple middies, also made, as I said, 3 3-pointers. So Porzingis getting it done on all 3 levels. It just unlocks everything for Boston. They are so hard to guard when Porzingis is available, and obviously when they're fully healthy, which they weren't tonight with Tatum and Jrue Holiday both out. But when this team is fully healthy and it's got Porzingis out there, I've said it before, he is the key that unlocks the door for everything Boston can accomplish and truly be an indefensible team. It's funny, at halftime tonight, I was catching up with someone I know from the Detroit Pistons, and we were talking about just how hard Boston is to defend. I said, you just got to hope that someone misses. And then they corrected me and said, you've got to hope that multiple people miss. That's how good the Celtics are, that you've got to hope that multiple people are having an off night in order to have a chance to get into the game and try to have a chance to beat them. No one really had an off night tonight. Everyone shot the ball well. As I said, Jaylen didn't quite shoot it well from long distance, but he did shoot it well as a whole, shot nearly 50% from the field. And Derek White was the only one who kind of struggled. He was 3 for 11 from long distance, 4 for 15 from the field. But everyone else made up for it, and the Celtics still basically shot 50% from the field and 40% from long distance during this game, despite Derek White not quite shooting the ball so well. So again, Porzingis does well. Jaylen Brown had a great night. And then we've got to talk about Sam Hauser because this was a breakout game for him. He winds up with a season-high 20 points. He winds up with a season-high 5 3-point makes, and a couple of them were very, very difficult shots that just splashed through the net. And you know that when he's on, it doesn't matter how clean the look is. If it splashes through the net, that guy is feeling it, and his shots were splashing the net tonight. So again, a season-high 20 points, a season-high 5 3-point makes for Sam Hauser as he gets the spot start. And he's going to be feeling good about himself as he goes into the weekend back-to-back that the Boston Celtics have coming up against a couple of really good teams, and we'll talk about that later on in the episode. But right now, let's get into some fan comments. We've got 3 of them tonight. First up, we've got Neil Kashkari, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, on Boston being a legitimate juggernaut this season. Then we've got the Jordan Walsh Muse on the Celtics having 2 of the best contracts in the NBA. Who are those? We're going to talk about it in a moment. And then last but not least, we've got citing personal reasons on a couple of small complaints that they have after this game tonight. How could you have that when the Celtics win by 10? But let's dive in. We've got our first one coming up right now. All right, first one up here is Neil Kashkari saying, insane. This team is a legit juggernaut. Pistons magnet ball, no JT, no Jrue, and yet a 10-point win. It's really comical at this point. And really, it is. When you add up all the circumstances around this game that we've touched on so far, but no Jayson Tatum, one of the leading MVP candidates in the league right now, no Jrue Holiday, The Detroit Pistons have by far their best three-point shooting night of the season. Better than 50%, more than 23s. They made 20. So 23 pointers on better than 50% shooting. No Tatum, no Jrue Holiday, and they lose by 10. That is comical. It's comical that the Celtics can win by double digits despite all of this going on. And really, it all boils down to depth and players being ready to step in when their name is called. They call it the Stay Ready group. We call it the Stay Ready group here on the media side. It's all of those guys they don't know how many minutes they're going to play on a nightly basis. They don't necessarily know exactly what their role is going to be on a nightly basis, but they're always ready when their names are called. It's Luke Cornett. Payton Pritchard used to be in that group, but he seems to be doing just fine right now, playing 30-plus a night. But it's Pritchard. It's Sam Hauser. It's Luke Cornett. It's Xavier Tillman, Jordan Walsh, Drew Peterson has played in a few straight games. Those guys are all parts of the Stay Ready group, and they are ready every time their name gets called. And they bring so much skill to the table, and they play the right way, and they play for each other, and they can defend, and they can score. You've got an entire roster full of guys who can help the Celtics play at a high level. And there are not many. Go around the rosters around the NBA. There are not many teams built like this that they could be missing a couple of their starters, sometimes 3 starters, and have guys fill in and play at a starter level, like consistently. The Boston Celtics have that, and it is a rare, rare thing in the NBA. So again, you're missing a couple starters tonight, one of which is one of the leading MVP candidates in the league. The opposition has its best three-point shooting night of the season by far, and yet the Celtics still log a double-digit win. Neil Kashkari, I'm with you. It's really getting comical at this point. All right, next up we've got Jordan Walsh-Muse with a comment about a couple of guys and their contracts on the Celtics, saying, Sam Hauser and Pritchard are the best contracts in the NBA by a mile. All right, we're not going to go into the numbers because that's not what we do here on Celtics channels, but we will talk about the status of these two guys. Okay, Sam Hauser just signed a contract extension during the offseason to stay with the team. Payton Pritchard just recently signed before last season as an extension off of his rookie deal, and boy, oh boy, are they paying off. First and foremost, Payton Pritchard. Because, and again, we're not going to talk about the numbers, but Payton Pritchard might be the best contract in the league. The best contract in the league. He is one of the best shooters in the league. He is the leading Sixth Man of the Year candidate by far. He scored another 19 points tonight, including 5 3-pointers. He defends at a high level. He can handle the ball under pressure. He can distribute. He's smart. Again, he defends. He can pick guys up 94 feet. He can play any role that the Celtics need him to play in a guard scenario and do it at a high level. And that man is going to cash in a few years on his next contract. But right now, he is the best contract in the NBA. There's no question in my mind about that. Sam Hauser, Sam got paid after he had a nice little run last season. Okay, so Sam is not quite in that same level of Payton in terms of value because he's making more than Payton. But it is a really good contract. It is a great contract for the Celtics, a guy who is entirely overlooked in terms of what he brings to the table defensively. And we all know he is one of the top snipers in the NBA when it comes to marksmanship from beyond the arc. So both of these guys far outweighing and outplaying their contract values. They bring so much more value to the table than what their contracts actually are paying them. And that's a good thing for the Celtics, and it's a good thing for them because if they continue to do this, they're going to cash in yet again with another contract once these ones wipe out. So Sam Hauser and Payton Pritchard, two of the best three-point shooters in the NBA, and those guys get it done at the other end as well. You can't overlook that. They are two of the best contracts in the league. All right, last but not least, we have citing personal reasons who says, sad JB didn't get 10 assists and PP didn't hit 20 points again. Other than that, no complaints. All right, listen, if you're complaining about this, it's a pretty darn good night for the Boston Celtics. Sad that Jaylen Brown didn't reach 10 assists. It would have set a new season high, but he set his new season high anyway. Okay, he didn't hit double digits. That's okay. He got 9 assists, set a new season high. And by the way, his career high is 11, so he was threatening that throughout this game. Payton Pritchard did not hit 20 points again, but that's okay. He was right there with 19. So both of these guys played at a very high level, and really the team played at a high level. We've got to wake up the defense a little bit, but as a whole, the offense was unstoppable. Again, 6 guys scored at least 14 points. That does not happen very often. And Jaylen Brown and Payton Pritchard were two of those players who really excelled tonight. Great to see them continue to play at high levels. And, is it unfortunate that Jaylen Brown did not get a double-double with those assists? Sure. Is it unfortunate that Payton Pritchard's streak of scoring 20-plus points had to end? Yes, sure it is. But the Celtics still got a double-digit win. They still racked up another W in the win column, and that's all that matters in the end. And now they are setting themselves up for a nice little finish to this difficult stretch that they are navigating right now. Again, they are in the middle of a 6 games in 9 days stretch. That's about as tough as it gets in the NBA. And in fact, I would argue that it is as tough as it gets in the NBA. You're never going to play 7 games in 9 nights. So 6 and 9 is the hardest stretch that you can go through. Right now, the Celtics are 3-1 through that stretch. They've got 2 more coming up on Friday and Saturday. Both of those are going to be played at TD Garden, and they're both against teams that are playing very good basketball right now. Friday night, it's against the Milwaukee Bucks. Dame Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo come to town. They did lose tonight. They just had their winning streak snapped tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, but that Bucks team is 8-2 in its last 10 games. And then you'll fast forward to Saturday night. It's the Memphis Grizzlies that come to town with Marcus Smart, Ja Morant, and all that. Those guys out there in Memphis, they've been playing great as well. They are 7-3 in their last 10 games. So 2 teams that are red hot coming to Boston to take on a Celtics team that's been red hot all season. And as we already highlighted, Jayson Tatum and Jrue Holiday did not play in tonight's game, so the Celtics were not whole in this game. Let's hope that they can be whole maybe for one game this weekend. It might not happen because Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford both do not play in both nights of back-to-back, so it's likely that those two are going to split the Friday-Saturday game. One would play Friday, one would play Saturday. That's what we saw happen last year for the Boston Celtics. So let's hope that the Celtics can be just about whole with one of those guys missing each game. But if everyone else is back, this should line up to be a heck of a game and a heck of a weekend for the Boston Celtics. Friday against Giannis and Dame. Saturday, Ja Morant comes to town, and this is going to be an exciting weekend where the Celtics wrap up this 6 games in 9 days stretch, and hopefully they can grab a couple more wins against 2 of the hottest teams in the NBA. Thanks for tuning in and giving us a watch tonight on YouTube, or if you're listening on our podcast platforms, make sure you respond to my tweet after Friday night's game. I want your comments. I want your reactions. We're going to take a few of them for the next episode of Sound Off. So we are off tomorrow on Thursday, but we will be back after that Friday night matchup with Giannis, Dame, and the Milwaukee Bucks. Enjoy the rest of the week. Until then, we'll see you Friday night.